It was an early October morning, crisp and serene, when my life changed forever. My name is Philip Hoyter, and I live on a farm in Wisconsin, where my family and I raise beef cattle. I've written over 32 books, and I'm no stranger to storytelling, but what happened to me that morning is something I never expected to share, because it took me from the edge of life to a dimension beyond anything I thought possible. That morning began like any other. I went out to check on our herd of 27 grazing cattle, a daily routine I've followed for years. Normally, I could walk among them, pet them, and talk to them without a second thought. But this day was different. As I approached the herd, still lying in the grass, one cow suddenly stood up, stared at me, and bolted across the field. She stopped about 600 feet away, turned, and continued staring. The rest of the herd followed, all gathering near her as though they'd seen something I couldn't. Their behavior unsettled me, but nothing seemed physically wrong, so I headed back to the house, chalking it up to an odd moment. I had an appointment to replace the tires on our car later that day, so I drove into our local village, about 12 miles away. I planned to stop at the hospital's fitness and rehab center afterward for a quick workout, but as I drove, I realized I had time to exercise before my appointment. On a whim, I turned left instead of right and parked at the fitness center. Looking back, that simple choice may have saved my life, or rather, set me on a path to something far greater. I greeted the staff, stretched, and started with the arm curl machine. After completing 20 curls, I stood up, and something strange happened. Both of my forearms began tingling, as though they'd fallen asleep. The sensation was odd but not painful, so I didn't think much of it. Then, in an instant, everything changed. One moment, I was standing next to the machine. The next, I found myself in an entirely different realm. I was sitting on what felt like a raft, floating on waves. Not waves of water, but waves of energy. These waves moved toward me and through me, carrying an indescribable sense of warmth, peace, and love. I looked at my hands and saw that my body was no longer solid. It was translucent, glowing faintly, and yet this felt completely natural. Ahead of me was a golden yellow sphere, radiating light more brilliant than 10 million suns. Yet it wasn't blinding, it was soothing. I instinctively knew this sphere was the source of all creation, the divine creator, God, or whatever name one might use to describe the essence of everything. It pulsed with intelligence, love, and acceptance, sending waves of energy outward in every direction. Silver lights, like tiny sparklers, darted across its surface and shot out into the infinite beyond. As I gazed at this awe-inspiring sphere, I became aware of countless universes and dimensions surrounding it. Each one was connected to the sphere by delicate filaments of light, forming a vast, intricate web. These universes were suspended in what seemed like eternal space, each radiating its own energy, yet all linked to the same divine source. I understood, without words, that these connections carried love and life to every corner of existence. Turning around, I saw infinity magnified. The farther I looked, the clearer it became, as though eternity itself was revealing its secrets to me. I realized that every being, every soul, carries the DNA of this divine essence within them. We are all connected to the Creator, to each other, and to the vastness of existence. Back in the fitness center, chaos had erupted. A team of EMTs and hospital staff was desperately working to restart my heart. I was unaware of their efforts, completely absorbed in the beauty and peace of this other dimension. I couldn't communicate with them, couldn't tell them I was fine, and couldn't imagine wanting to leave this place. Then, in less than the blink of an eye, I was pulled back. I woke up 8 hours later, disoriented and confused. My wife Mary was at the foot of my gurney, rubbing my feet. My stepson, daughter, and her fiancé stood nearby, their faces etched with concern. I didn't understand where I was or what had happened. When I saw a clock on the wall, it read 8 o'clock. I muttered, "That can't be right," and someone asked why. "Because time doesn't move backward," I replied, still half connected to the other realm. That's when they told me it was 8 o'clock at night, and the reality of my return began to sink in. Though I had only been clinically dead for a little over 6 minutes, It felt like I had been gone for centuries. The profound depth of the experience defied all understanding of time as we know it. In the months that followed, I sought to understand why I had come back. The answer finally came 8 months later in the most unexpected way. One morning, Mary told me I had spoken in my sleep the night before. She had grabbed a notepad to write down my words. She told me I had sat up, mumbling, "I don't believe it. I don't believe it." When she asked what I didn't believe, I replied, "The reason I came back." She asked why, and I said, "I was told I needed to come back to be a conduit of hope for those who don't have any or don't think it exists." That moment clarified everything. My collapse had occurred in the fitness center, surrounded by help rather than in the pasture, because I was meant to survive. I had a purpose, to share the message of hope and love I had experienced in that other dimension. Since then, I've reflected deeply on what I learned. One of the most important realizations is that our bodies are more than the sum of their parts. While my physical body lay lifeless, my soul, my essence, was fully alive in that other realm. I also learned that life is a series of choices, and each choice carries consequences. We must take responsibility for the paths we choose. This life is a journey of growth and learning. It allows us to experience things we cannot in our higher, energetic essence. When our time here is complete, we continue on to new dimensions, carrying the lessons we've learned until we've fulfilled our purpose. Above all, 2 lessons stand out. First, that love, seeing and honoring the divinity in every person, is the reason for our journey. And second, that hope is the pathway we can all walk. The choice to embrace these truths is always ours, and it is always available. When I think back to that October morning, I am filled with gratitude. The experience transformed me, showing me the beauty and interconnectedness of all creation. And though I was gone for only 6 minutes, those moments reshaped my life forever.